Okay, so we're going to start a new storyline called Jack in the Box. Okay, so we're just going to get started. This is part one. One day, Jack ran across the street. He ran across the street because he saw somebody he thought he noticed. He wanted to catch up to him. He just kept running, and she was just walking. She was so far ahead of him. But everything in him said, stop her. He didn't know why, but he knew he needed to stop her because she felt familiar. She felt like someone he's known in the past. So he kept running, and finally, Jack was able to catch up with her, and he tapped her on the back of her shoulder as she was walking ahead. And she turned around, and he said, "Oh my God, it is you." And she looked at him strangely, as if she's never seen him a day in her life. Jack said, he caught the look, and he said, "Marissa, right?" She said, "Yeah." "And you are?" He said, "It's me. It's Jack." She said, "I'm sorry, Jack. Am I supposed to know who you are?" Jack's face fell into confusion because he knew her. How is it that he spent 2 years with her and she had no idea who he was? Marissa looked at him. She said, "Sir, I'm not sure how you got my name, but I'm so sorry. I don't know who you are." Jack then proceeded to say, "Hey, but it's me. Remember we went to the fair and I met you in front of your grandmother's house?" She said, "Excuse me? My grandmother's been dead since before I was alive." He said, "No, wait a minute." He said, "No, no, 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 no." He said, "Your grandmother, wait a minute." He said, "We used to sit on your grandmother's porch. We sat there every day. And laughed and talked and what do you mean?" She said, "Again, I'm so confused about who you are, Jack. I mean, I wish I can clear this up for you, but it looks like you have me mixed up with someone else." Jack was confused, and he grabbed his head and he said, "No." He said, "I know it's you, Marissa." He said, "Okay, stop." He said, "Just give me a little bit more of your time. You have a brother." She looked at him and she said, "Yeah, I do." Okay, this is a good start. He said, "Your brother, his name is Michael. But they call him Mikey, right?" "Yeah. How would you know that?" "Because I have no idea who you are." She said, "Have you been following me?" Jack said, "Of course not. I just seen you walking across the street and I ran across." He said, "Ma'am, Marissa, I almost called you ma'am as if I didn't know you. You don't, what, Jack, Jason, what, Johnny?" "It's Jack, ma'am. It's Jack." "Okay. How can I help you?" I'm Why can't you piece together that we know each other? I mean, what are you hiding from? How is it that you don't remember me? We had a relationship for 2 years." "I'm sorry, Jack, Johnny, Jeffrey. I'm sorry, I just don't recall. How long ago was this?" He looked at her with such confusion. I mean, they had a great 2 years. Why is it that all of a sudden Marissa wasn't recalling him? How is it that she couldn't even recognize who he was? I mean, he gave her details of her life that were pertinent. But she stood there as if he was a complete stranger, as if she's never laid eyes on him. Deep down, he was hurt. He felt a bit shattered. But he held himself together and he said, "Well, I'm not." He said, "I'm almost confused and made me feel as if I didn't know you either. but I know you. And he said, how about this? He said, take my number. He said, is that okay? He said, take my number and pass it on to Mikey. And then hopefully I can talk to Mikey and maybe me and him can get together for a beer or something, I don't know. And she looked at him. She said, you haven't heard? And he said, what? She said, Mikey passed away a year ago. Okay. No, I haven't heard. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry to hear that. I'm so sorry to hear that. Listen, is there anything I can do to, I mean, I don't even know what to say. I'm just sorry that that happened. How did he pass? I really don't know you, sir, and I hear what you said about knowing me, but I can't put my finger on it. I have no idea who you are, sir. Jack stood there in complete silence at this time and just stared at her. Because deep down inside, he yearned her, and he just didn't understand. He was wondering why it was more important for her to act as if she didn't know him than acknowledging the fact that he did, that she did. So he put his head down for a brief moment, and he looked back up into her eyes. And he said, look, I'm going to do something, he said. And he said, don't be afraid. And she said, excuse me? So he grabbed Marissa by both of her arms and pulled her close to him. And he looked her deep in her eyes and he said, I know you. You know me too. I don't know what has you afraid, but whatever it is, you can count on me. It's okay to tell me what's going on. I'm here. Use my number if you need me. Marissa shook him off and she said, I don't know what you're talking about. She said, look here, I have to go. And Jeffrey, John, Jason, Jack. That's it, I apologize. I don't mean to be rude. I guess it's a pleasure meeting you. And but I have to go. I have an appointment to get to. So you have a great rest of your day. Jack stood there and just nodded his head and he said, yeah, you too, Marissa. He said, but again, use the number if you feel like you need to. She nervously waved at him and she turned around and kept going. And as Marissa started walking off, a tear fell down her face. She couldn't believe it. Jack was still alive. She was deep down inside, she was happy to see him, but she couldn't let him know who she was. She had to pretend, to keep pretending that they didn't have any connection. It was only to save his life. But Jack had no idea that he was in danger if she had acknowledged him, so she had to continue on with the charade. So she hurried up and wiped her tear. She kept going. But it was very difficult for her to concentrate now. What was seeming like a mission now felt troublesome because Jack was still alive. He wasn't supposed to be. She hurried up and walked faster, and Jack stood there, and she turned around, and she just saw him standing there, just watching her walk away. She wound up turning the corner so that she can get out of his vision. Marissa knew that things were about to take a turn because what was supposed to be wasn't.